Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for having me on your platform. It is such an honor and indeed a pleasure. I am Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis. I am the president and CEO of the Executive Women's Success Institute, and I am based in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, in the United States. So I am just, again, so excited to be here. And the story that I want to share today, and I really hope that some of you can relate out there. And actually, the title of the story is going to be Adapt, Improvise, Lead. And it's about what the Army taught me about women's power. And, you know, it all started because I did join the Army. And I joined the Army because my thought was I wanted to be assigned to Spain. But let me back up just a little bit. The reason why the destination for me was Spain is because it's all started when I lost my scholarship to go to college. I was in Tulane University and I lost the scholarship. And I thought, oh my goodness, there's nothing worse than losing a scholarship. But actually, the worst part about losing that scholarship is that I had to tell my mother about that. And I tell you what, you would have to know my mother. She is one of these ladies that she's about 5'3". She is one of these people that it's pure authority. She don't yell, she don't argue, she don't negotiate. So I had to figure out how was I going to tell her about losing my scholarship. When I worked up the nerve to do that, well, she looked at me and she said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to give you 6 months. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you are going to finish college. And I'm going to give you 6 months to figure it out. Now, keep in mind, again, like I said, pure authority. Don't argue. Don't negotiate. She had one of those looks that she could look at you from across the room and your life would just flash before your eyes. That's the type of person that she was. So I was waiting for the storm, but all I got from her was calm resolve. And she said what she said, then she walked away. No discussion, no suggestions, not even a PowerPoint presentation, just 6 months. That's all she said. And poor me, I stood there thinking to myself, well, at least she could have given me some type of hint as to what I could do. But no, she didn't. But as I thought about it, a light bulb came on. And I started thinking, you know what? I have a friend in the Army. She's always writing me about all the fun she's having. She's stationed in Spain, the beaches, you know, adventure and all of this, how glamorous it was. Now, mind you, I'm talking, she's in the Army, but this is the letters she was sending me. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to join the Army. They're going to assign me to Spain. I can be with her and we can have fun. I can have my college paid, problem solved. Well, needless to say, that plan quickly, and I do mean quickly, unraveled. Because for one thing, I never made it to Spain, not even once. The closest that I got to Spain was when I was on my way to Saudi Arabia during Desert Storm, and our plane stopped in Germany to refuel. That was it. That was my European tour. So you think about it, instead of Spain, what did I get? I got tents. I got foxholes. I got field training. And yes, sand and more sand. But more than that, I got male-dominated units. You know, there is nothing glamorous about sleeping in a tent in the middle of a desert. There's nothing cute about having sand in places that you don't ever want to have sand. And the thing about it, my friends used to tease me because they couldn't figure out how did I manage to stay in the military for as long as I did, because they used to tease me and call me bougie. So their question was always, girl, how are you in the Army? And I, at some points, you know, I was thinking the same thing myself. But to be honest with you, I stayed that long because of mindset. Because to survive and to thrive in that environment as a woman, your mindset had to change. And so mine did. And because of that, I was able to be in that type of environment. You know, one of the things I noticed that kind of helped with that mindset is when we used to do push-ups. You know, at first I thought, man, why is it every time we mess up, they would give you push-ups to do? I'm thinking, that's just an awful punishment for us. But then I realized we were getting push-ups because, you know, women don't have a lot of upper body strength. So the push-ups weren't punishment. They were preparation, so to speak. They were preparing us because at the end of the training, you had to be able to pass a physical fitness test. And if you didn't pass the test, then you were out of there. Because the Army's motto was adapt, improvise, and overcome, which meant that you get stronger or you kind of get left behind. But what I can say is somewhere between all those push-ups and promotion boards, I stopped trying to survive in the Army and I started learning how to lead in it. And as I got promoted, what I also noticed was something interesting started happening. Other women started coming to me because they wanted to know, well, how are you getting into these different ranks? How are you moving up the ranks like that? Especially being in those male-dominated units. You know, and they wanted me to show them how I did it. They wanted me to look at their promotion packets, you know, wanted me to do practice board interviews with them. And then I realized something powerful. The lessons that I had learned, especially when I was in Desert Storm and all that sand and sleeping in those foxholes under the, you know, trucks in the tents, it weren't just about military survival. It was about leadership. And what I also realized is that leadership is indeed it's transferable. So when you look at it that way, it's like going from the battlefield to the boardroom. And that's when I knew my mission wasn't just to succeed. It was to bring other women with me. And that's one of the reasons why I started my business, the Executive Women's Success Institute, because what I realized was too many women, they're not qualified. I mean, they are qualified, but they're quiet about it. They're capable, but they also tend to second guess themselves. You know, they're ready, but they keep waiting. And the Army taught me something different. The Army taught me that women's power comes down to three things. I call it the CAN leadership model. And why do I call it that? That's because every woman that's looking at me right now can. That's right. And guess what? The C is it's for confidence, which means that you apply before you're ready. You know, I led units made up mostly of men. Do you think that I felt ready every time I stepped into a leadership? No, I wasn't. But here's what I learned. Confidence, it isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You don't wait until you feel ready. You apply, you step up, you raise your hand, and you let growth catch up to you. You know, those push ups, they built more than muscle for me. They built evidence, evidence that I could do hard things. So, ladies, what I'd like to say to you is stop waiting until you feel 100%. Because guess what? Men apply at 60%. So you do the same thing, apply anyway. And the A, that's assertiveness, which means speak, don't shrink back. In the military, indecisiveness is dangerous. You cannot whisper orders in a war zone. You cannot second guess yourself mid command. So if I walked into a room unsure, my unit would feel it instantly, and no one follows hesitation. So I learned to speak clearly, to own my space, to stop shrinking, to make others comfortable. Assertiveness, it's not aggression, it's clarity. It's saying, this is the direction, and then standing in it. And the N, network. Build rooms that speak your name when you're not there. Here's something many women miss. Promotions, they don't just happen because you work hard. They happen because someone says your name in a room you're not in. I had to learn to advocate for myself, to build relationships, to connect with leaders who would recommend me, not because I was loud, but because I was strategic. Networking, it isn't fake, it's building community. It's making sure when opportunity shows up, your name shows up with it. Confidence, assertiveness, network, that's women's power. So let's go back to Spain. You know, remember the plan was beaches, fun, adventure. And instead, what did I get? I got sandstorms, promotion boards, and push ups. I thought I was joining the Army to pay for college, but the Army was building something far greater. It was building a leader. You know, I never made it to Spain, but I did make it to leadership. And here's what I know: if I can adapt in a war zone, you can adapt in a boardroom. And if I can improvise in the desert, then you can improvise in your career. And if I can overcome self doubt in a male dominated unit, guess what? You can overcome whatever room you walk into. So here's your next step: apply, speak, build, because you can. Then adapt, improvise, and lead. And
Wow.
those are my tips. That's my story.
What an incredible story. I'm just smiling as you talk about getting sand in all the wrong places. It's
Yeah,
like,
and that's no joke. I mean, it's like even if you washed your clothes, you couldn't get them really clean because there was just so much sand and in the in the water. It just nothing ever seemed like it was really clean.
oh my gosh, that is just so crazy. So let's take and unpack this story and just go back to that moment when you lost your scholarship.
Hmm.
You had 6 months to figure out your future. What
Yes.
was going through your mind at that moment?
How was I going to do it? What was I going to do? Like I said, my biggest fear was because I had to tell my mother about it, and I didn't know how she was going to react to it. And when she was, calm as she was, and she just gave me that ultimatum, hey, you got 6 months to figure it out. I knew with her that meant 6 months. We're not talking 6 months and one day. We're
Oh
talking six
my
months.
God.
You better have some kind of plan. And so that's why I said, I thought, well, maybe she could have given me a hint as to what I could do, but no, she didn't. She left it all up to me. And that
Oh,
was just the only thing I could think about as a quick solution, and one that I thought would be, fun, because I would be heading to Spain, which of course, like I said, I never did get there. And but that's what was running through my head. What was I going to do? How am I going to figure this out in 6 months? How am I going to go to college and pay for it at the same time, and within
so
that span,
crazy.
to figure that out? And it was hard. But then,
Oh,
like I said, that light bulb came on, and I thought, that's it. I'm gonna join the army.
yeah.
No patriotism or anything like that. I'm going because I want to go to Spain.
So, what was it like being a woman in a male-dominated military unit during that era?
It was hard because if it as a female in the unit, of course, everybody trained the same way. There was no, because you're a female, you don't do this or you don't do that. Um, you everybody trained the same way, so they didn't look at you as though, oh, well, you're a female, so I have to take it easy on you, or you don't get to go and dig that foxhole, or you don't get to have to carry that 50-pound rucksack. None of that. You had to do what everybody else did. But the thing about it is, when I talk about the leadership part of it and being promoted in male dominated units, that's the part, is to be able to be in a leadership role and also have them to take the orders that you gave them, and
Yes.
execute them the way they were supposed to. And that was the part for me that I had to learn, and that's when I talk about the mindset had to change. Because when I realized what some of the things that the military did was not to punish you or anything, but it was because they needed to change your mindset. And once I
Yes.
realized that, that's what made it easier for me to be able to step into leadership roles, and also to be able to lead a unit of men without them, like standing up and saying, I'm not going to do that. You can't tell me what to do. But
Yeah.
no, and I never ever ran into that. And one of the things I'll say, and I was very proud of the fact of that, is when I did retire, they retired the unit flag and framed it, and they gave it to me, something that they don't always do. That's something that's not done often. So that let me know that they respected me as a leader, that they would do something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Now, how did the military train your mindset differently from civilian life?
Well, because one of the things is, like I said, when you in the military, you can't, I hear people say all the time, oh, I could never go into the army or the or military period because I don't like people telling me what to do. Well,
Yes.
that is the way the military is. They tell you when to get up, when to go to bed, what time to eat, what time, everything is them telling you what to do,
Oh,
where to
yes.
be at, and you had to be there at a certain time on time. So there
Wow.
was no, um, I'm not going to do this, or I don't feel like doing it today, or I'm going to sleep in late today. There was none of that. The mindset was that everybody had to, and I'll give you an example. When we went into basic training, one of the things they did in basic training is that you didn't get to contact your relatives or anyone for the entire time that you were in basic training until the very end. And the
Wow.
reason why they did that is because they needed to, again, prepare you. They needed to, not, I don't want to use the word break you, because that's not what they were doing, but they did need to get you to a point where you understood that the authority, you were under their authority, so to speak. So if you
Oh,
call home and you're complaining, then the first thing your mother gonna say, oh, well, I'm gonna come and get you and bring you home because they're not treating you right. Well, see,
yeah.
they did not want you to be able to do that. You
Okay.
needed to focus on what they were telling you, because they knew if you did not get into the right mindset, then they put
Yes.
you in a situation like, for example, when we were deployed to Desert Storm, you could be in danger because you had to be able to take orders. You had to be able to follow the leader when that
Yes.
time came, and you had to be able to lead if you were in a leadership role. So in order
Yes.
to be able to do those things, that meant that the mindset had to say to, okay,
Right.
I know that if I don't do what I need to do, then I could jeopardize a whole bunch of people that I'm
Yes.
either leading or that's following me.
So
Yeah,
it wasn't just about your life. You had the responsibility of the people you're leading as well.
absolutely,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. Yeah,
That different.
definitely a different mind. I remember my drill sergeant called me in one time because after, like I said, after I figured out what was going on and the way I looked at things, my perspective kind of changed. And he
Yes.
called me into his office one day. He says, Lewis, what does it take for me to get you upset? And I was like, I don't know, drill sergeant. He says, well, what would you do if I took away your comb? I thought, and I think they notice, it's their job to notice your behavior and how you react to
Yes.
things. And I think being at that young age, maybe not, getting upset about certain things or just kind of going along and doing what I was supposed to do. I think they noticed that. And that's why he called me in his office, because, and I know he was kind of testing me to see what my response was going to be, what my mindset was at that time. Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Now, what does adapt, improvise, and overcome mean in the everyday leadership?
Well, actually, when they say adapt, improvise, and overcome, because you never know what type of situation you're going to find yourself in, especially if you're in a war zone and if you're deployed, and you're not always. For example, if you go into the field, I remember when we landed in Saudi Arabia, because it was during the time of war. They were actually at war, and when we landed, Scud missiles were going off. So the first thing we had to do was go into our gas mask. So when they tell you to adapt, you don't know what situation you're going to be dropped into. So you have
Yeah.
to be ready. You have to be prepared. And if you don't have what you need, say for example, I don't have a canteen of water or something like that, then I need to know what I can do to find some. I need to
Okay.
know what I need to do to adapt to that environment that they put me in, because I'd never
Yes.
been to Saudi Arabia before. So once I landed in that country, then now I'm a part of that environment and I have to adapt to that environment. When they say improvise, again, if you so if something happens to your weapon, it jams, you have to be able to improvise to make sure that either you get that that weapon back in working order, or you find something that you can use to make sure that you can defend yourself. And when overcome just means that you don't let where you are, your circumstances, you don't let that overtake you. You don't let that, take you out of that mindset to remember, hey, I'm here for a mission and I have to accomplish that mission. Because if I don't, again, I could put other lives in jeopardy. So I have to do my part, what I'm assigned to do. So that's what that adapt, improvise, and overcome means.
Okay. So why do you think women hesitate to apply for promotions even when they're qualified?
Because again, we always come up with the what ifs and we second guess ourselves. We'll look at the same uh, listing or posting that a man will look at, and they'll look at it and think, oh, well, I don't really have number one, number four, number five, but I'm going to apply anyway. A female will look at that and say, oh, I don't have number one, number four, number five, so I can't apply. That's not so. Because one of the things that what I realize is that a lot of times when you get into a position, you're not going to know everything about it anyway.
Yes.
Some of the stuff you learn as you go, but one of the things you always do is you put people in place. Once you get in a position, you also have people in place that will support you, that will help you, or people that you can call on from other areas, so that if you need information or what have you. I always said, if you need to know a little bit about everything. I remember in civilian government, I used to tell them, if you're in HR, you need to know someone in budget. You need to know someone in EEO. You need to know someone in accounting, because these are people that when something happened and you have to get information about your budget, because you're going to have a budget in your office, even though you don't work in the budget office. So you need to be able to pick up your phone and call someone in the budget office and ask them a question. So
Right.
that's where the networking come in. You always have people around that you can pick up the phone and call, that can give you advice on something you may not know a whole lot about. Yeah.
That is smart.
Hmm.
Wow. So, how can women practice assertiveness without being labeled negatively?
Well, a thing about being assertive is that a lot of people want to look at it as that you're being aggressive, but it's not being aggressive. Assertiveness just means that you are taking a stand on something, or you are clarifying. Okay, if you're in a say if you're in a meeting and you're speaking about something, or you maybe you're giving a report or whatever, and all of a
Right.
sudden you have this male or someone in the room that wants to talk over you just as if you don't exist. Well, then you
Mm,
have to speak up. You don't shrink back and let them do that. You have to be assertive and let them know, well, excuse me, but I haven't finished what I said.
yes.
Then let them know what I'm saying is just as important as what you're about to say, but you can
Yeah.
wait until I finish what I'm saying. So to me, that is, the part that some women don't want to take on that role to do. They
Mm,
will tend to let people take their ideas and claim them as their own, rather
mm,
than speak up and said, well, no, that's not that's not what you said, but that is in fact what I was saying. And let me tell you why I was saying it,
uh,
so make sure that they understand that it's you. You don't have to dim your light to let someone else's, walk over you because you're shrinking back, or you feel that you're not good enough. What if I'm not good enough? What if they don't like me? What if I say something and it's not right? Well, nobody's perfect, but you're supposed to speak up and let them know that you are in the room, and you're supposed to be there. Mhm.
Yeah, and I like the way you're saying, let them know that you're in the room. It's very easy to be overlooked, and you're making that choice to be overlooked, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that's something that women need to really learn how to zone into that.
Yeah, we're
Now,
very bad at not speaking up and tending, to, like I said, shrink back. That's the word I always use. Please, please, please don't ever think you need to shrink back from, especially when you know that are you have that ability, you have the capabilities to be there, and you're supposed to be there. Then don't let anybody make you think that you shouldn't be there. Yeah.
I love that. Now, what does strategic networking look like
Mhm. Well,
beyond exchanging business cards?
Well, it's not just handing out the business cards. Those are nice, but what I learned long time ago, people will go to a conference. They
Yeah,
will gather all these cards from different people, but then when they get back to their location, what do they do with the cards? What do you do? Just put them in a file box or whatever?
it's
They don't tend to follow up. One of the things I used to do when I would get someone's card, I would make a note on it. Why did I take this person's card? Why was it important that, I felt I wanted to
good.
have their card? So I would make a note. We talked about so and so. This person did something. They specialized in grant writing, or they
Mhm.
something that I felt was significant enough that I wanted that card. But when I got home, I didn't want to look at the card and think, why did I? Who is?
Yes.
I can't remember why I even spoke to this person. Make a little note on it. Don't just gather the card and not do anything with it. But
Yeah.
also, in some cases, try to follow up with it. If you took the card, you know, you took it for a reason. Is it because you maybe want to collaborate with that person? Or are they doing something maybe that you would like to do and you'd like to find out more about it?
Yeah.
Really follow up. That's strategic networking. That's not just taking the cards and throwing it in a bag. And also what I said about making sure that if you're in a lead, especially in a leadership role, that you have networked to the point where you can contact different people to find if you need advice or you need information on something, and vice versa. If they contact you, you be
Yes.
available to provide information or advice to them too. Hmm.
I love that. Yeah,
Mhm.
you'll never remember when you come from an event who's who in the zoo. But if you've made
Exactly.
those inputs and you've got some anchor points, when you write back to them, or you can send them an email or find them on LinkedIn. Hey,
Yeah.
Jane, we met at this conference. I remember we talked about this. You don't remember, but you've got the notes. That is
Yeah,
very, very
exactly.
smart.
Exactly.
Love
Mhm.
that. Now, the other thing is women feel like imposters.
Mm.
How do you help women build confidence when they do feel like imposters?
Well, yeah, I've heard a lot about the imposter syndrome, but
Mm,
what I feel is that if you have the credentials, if
mhm.
you have the background, if you have the skills, if you have the abilities, then you're always going to be questioned. As females, a lot of times we are always going to be questioned. We're
Yeah.
always going to be maybe micromanaged. But if you know that you know that you know that you know, then you let
Mhm.
them know you know it. And
Yeah.
and you don't have to. I remember when I was really young and I was in this was probably really first position that I had. And I wanted, when I got into the position, I thought, this position is nice, but I don't want to stay here. I want to do something different. And so
Right.
I went to one of the supervisors and I told her, I wanted to apply for another position I saw on the board. And
Right.
one of the things that she said to me, and I can really say I had some good people that advised me through different points in my military career and in civilian career. Because she
Right.
said to me, she says, "Let me tell you something." She said, "When you apply for that position," she said, "make it sound like you can walk on water." She said, "Now I'm not telling you to lie about anything, but I'm
Mhm.
telling you to put everything in there that you know that you've done that will." Make them call you into that interview. She said, because your goal is to get into the room and then you sell yourself while you're in that room.
Nice.
That's what she said. When she said, make it sound like you can walk, I thought, that's interesting, because we tend to apply for something again, and we don't put down some of this stuff. If you do volunteer work, and you're
Yeah.
helping to raise funds for an organization, and you've raised all this money for this organization, guess what? That's important. You should
Wow.
put that in your your resume when you're telling people what you do and what you can do. That is something you can do. Some people
Mm,
may think, well, I don't know if it's a nonprofit, so maybe it's not that important. But yes, it is important. You've done
yeah.
it. You raise funds, you help them to do this, you help them to do that. Yes, it is important. And that's what she meant by that. If you've done things that you've done, if you've organized something or whatever, you put that in there because you want them to think you can walk on water. And I just thought that was the greatest advice that anyone could have given me. And I never forgot it.
What I love about that statement is, my dad was one of these people who used to say, sometimes you have to get your toe through the door.
Yes.
Like he would encourage me to apply for, a
Mhm.
job in a big organization where I could maneuver and
Yes.
find my way around. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what you're saying, right?
That's what she meant.
Yes.
That's exactly
Something
what you meant. You want to
perfect.
get into the interview because
Yeah.
the interview, if you don't get to the interview, then they'll really never know who you are just by looking at, on paper. But if you get to that interview, that's what you do. Then you you really sell yourself as to who you are.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That is just beautiful.
Mhm.
Wow, we have unpacked so much here. There's so much to ask. But what are the biggest mistakes that women make when seeking executive roles?
Again, not thinking that they're qualified and kind of downplaying their skills and their qualifications. And
Yeah.
I always, the ladies that I work with in my business, I always tell them, don't be afraid to toot your own horn. It is not,
Yes.
there is nothing wrong with that, to toot your own horn, to let people know what you're capable and qualified, to do.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we tend to second guess ourselves too much in a lot of cases, and we second guess ourselves out of opportunities that we could definitely have been qualified for. But
Yes.
we just won't go for it because we'll think, what if? There goes that what if. It's always the what if this or what if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the part that we have to definitely get over and make sure that we don't focus on those things.
I love that. That is just amazing.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of more questions before we finish our podcast.
Uh-huh.
What advice do you give to women working in male dominated industries today?
Well, the advice that I would give them is, I guess I would stick with my CAN model framework is the CAN. Yes, you can do it. Because the confidence, the assertiveness, and the network. Once you put those things in place, then you just keep moving forward. That will help you to move forward. That should be the framework for you to let you know that you can do anything that you set your mind to do. And that's and when I was as a young child growing up, that was one of the things my mother used to always tell us. I don't ever want to hear you say you can't do something, you know, because first of all, if you haven't tried it, how do you know you can't do it?
Let's do it. Yes.
And
Good
so
advice.
yeah, she always said that. I don't ever want to hear you said you can't do it. And that's the
Mm,
way in my focus and the coaching and different things, that is what I try to get women to see. And that's the mistake they make. They always think the first thing they just drop back on is, I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. And how do you know if you don't try it? you know?
you have
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Your mother was a wise woman. I can see
Yeah.
where
Yes, she
from.
is. She definitely
Um,
was. Hmm.
so let's end with two questions that are a bit of a thought experiment. The one,
Okay.
I'm going to teleport you back
Ooh,
to
okay.
the younger you, to that young woman who was going into the world, not knowing where the future was going to take her.
Hmm.
If you could go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
You know what? I would have to um, use the famous three words. And when you hear this, it's never give up, never give up, never give up. Because one of the things that I've realized over the years is that we know more than we think we do. And because we tend to second guess ourselves, we take ourselves out of the running a lot of times for opportunities that are there for us. So I would tell that person, that young girl, then never give up because your dreams are important. You are important. You are worthy. You are capable and you can do it. So never give up. Never give up. Never give up.
I love that. That is so beautiful and so, so true.
Mhm.
The thing is, unless you believe in yourself, nobody else will.
Yes, that's true.
And you learn along the way.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
let's teleport into the future. And we're now
Mhm.
going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. She is
90-year-old me. Okay. Okay.
she's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, whoever's with you at the end. But with
Mhm.
your energy, I can see you on a dance floor somewhere doing something physical. So
That's the
if I
plan.
if I could teleport you into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until this point,
Mhm.
what will you say to her when you finally meet her? And let me share why I love asking women this question.
Okay.
A lot of women don't realize that the wise woman already exists within us.
Mhm.
You know, we look outside of ourselves for answers, for solutions all the time, and we forget to go back inside, to go within.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what will you say to your wise woman when you finally meet her?
Well, I think I would want to say to her, your mindset is very important because we all know what a man thinketh, so is he. So if you keep a positive mindset and you show up, you will always rise up because there's no greater person to believe in than to believe in yourself. So if you always
Yeah.
believe in you that you can do it, then you will always make it and you will always reach your full potential. That would be what I would tell that person, my 90-year-old self.
Absolutely love it.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to connect with you, to learn from you, and to share you with our community. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Lewis.
you. It's been a pleasure. And I thank you for having me on the platform. I am so excited. I can't wait to be on the summit, to be a part of the summit. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who's feeling stuck, a woman who feels that I have value, my organization isn't paying me what I'm worth, I need a promotion, I need to move up, you don't have to do it alone. We've brought you an expert today. I have Dr. Lewis's website at the bottom of the screen. Reach out and get the help that you need. They say that success leaves clues.
Yeah.
You will be coached and mentored by a woman who has gone through the fire. She's come out on the other side and she's saying, I will show you how to do this, and it doesn't have to be hard. Or if you know someone, if you know a colleague, a friend, a relative who's feeling stuck, tag them on this video, please. Help us share this podcast through your social media. Tag your friends and family. Give them access to this information as well. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. Dr. Lewis is going to be speaking at our online summit, which is running from the 8th to the 12th of March. So if you want to learn more from her, we will send you that information. Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. I'll see you guys tomorrow when I bring another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Dr. Lewis, don't go away. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.